Warning, today's video is going to be a little gross. Look at the size of that maggot. Really gross, but really effective. This is going to be a good video for those of you living in an urban setting where you're worried about composting because of the smell. And with this method, I can compost anything. Doesn't matter if it's meat, dairy, dead animals. It can all go in and it doesn't stink. I suppose you could refer to this method as cold vermicomposting. So I started this last year. I took one of these food grade barrels and I started out by drilling 1-inch holes all the way around this thing. After that, I dug the deepest hole I could and I dropped the barrel into the ground. Before we take a look in here, I want to explain why I did this. So usually I compost in two ways. I have the 18-day composting system, which I've done videos on, and I will put a link in the description to that one. Or I just let the chickens do my composting in the chicken composting system, which is the easiest method. But I came across the issue where I was running into stuff such as rotten meat, maybe some dairy that went bad after the power went out, some different nightshade plant scraps that I didn't want to give to the chickens because it is toxic. Basically a lot of stuff I didn't want to just store around till I had enough to add it to my bigger compost piles. So with this barrel underground, I can come out here, pop the lid open anytime I get a little bit of rotten food scraps and just toss them down in here. So let's take a look at what we got. I haven't used this as much as I probably could have, so it's not completely full, but the stuff we got in here looks pretty good. And this is going to be one of those rare occurrences where I am not going to use my bare hands to touch it because it is pretty gross and it does stink underground, but luckily that smell does not rise up. So you'll see on top here, we have some of the newer scraps I added, such as some green tops of peppers. We have some rotten ham inside there. There's a dead mouse in here. And when I first opened it up, it was loaded with maggots, but I think the maggots are hiding from the light now. So let's go ahead and flip this a little bit. See what we got going on a little bit deeper inside here. Got a nice scoop here. Look at all these little flies doing some work in there. All this white through here, that's mycelia making their way through. There's lots of worms, various maggots, and then I've got some stuff closer to the bottom. Still has some maggots and flies mixed into it, but look at that. So this down in here is actually some really good nutritious compost with worm castings. So you might be thinking, if you got all these flies and these maggots in here, that's probably not something you want to use in your garden. But the only reason that those creatures are inside here is because I keep adding to this. When this sits over winter and we don't have all these insects coming around laying their eggs in here, none of that's going to be in here. So come springtime when I need this for my plants, I'll be able to go in here, just take this out. I won't even have to sift it. The only thing that's going to be left in here is worms because it is underground and it's going to protect them from the cold. Some other things I put in here that I generally wouldn't put in my other compost piles. So any weeds with seeds in them, I don't want that in my piles. I know they get hot, but we're not going to kill all those seeds. I don't want to transfer those to the garden. Also, nasty stuff like quackgrass. I can throw that in here. It has no light. It might try to grow, but it eventually dies and becomes worm food. So I'm at the point now where I'm not wasting any organic waste. I'm recycling it and put it right back into the garden. So you urban growers, some of you might put a bucket under your sink, throw food scraps in there. That ends up starting to stink. You probably don't have room to make big compost piles outside. So something like this that you can just bury underground and just throw stuff in here as you get it. This can be highly effective for your situation. Look at places like Facebook Marketplace. They always got these in here. Take this, drill some holes in it, buried underground, and don't worry about stinky compost anymore. And let the worms do the work. Thanks for watching.